name is Heidi Thompson, and I'm joined today by Helen Finney of Little White Books. I'm just trying to deal with a slight tech issue and get her in, but can you tell me in the chat if you're able to hear me and if you can see my screen, which will be these slides that you're seeing? Perfect, Helen. Thank you. And Helen, I sent you another invite. I'm not quite sure why it isn't wanting to let you on. I had you there for a sec. Let me try that one more time, and then worst case scenario, we'll just jump right into it and we can use the chat box. But Helen, I want to take a moment to thank you for having me, really, on today, and I'm really excited to share all of this information with you guys. Okay, so hi everyone. I would love to find out a little bit about you as we're getting started. Let me know who you are and a little bit about your business. And Helen's also in the chat, so if you're having any issues, any questions, we'll both be keeping an eye on that. So today, I want to talk to you about how to book more weddings from the wedding fairs that you exhibit at. So here's a rundown of what you're going to learn today. Wedding fairs are simply an opportunity, and you need to know how to seize that opportunity in order to make it work for you. We're going to talk about how some wedding fair exhibitors set themselves up for failure and how you can avoid that. We're going to talk about how to build your own warm leads list at the fair and what to do after the fair if you want to book more weddings. This is the part that most people overlook. We'll also talk about, I like people to know why certain things are. I don't just like to tell people to do things. So why follow-up is so important, yet so many people neglect to do it. So who am I? You're probably wondering. I'm Heidi Thompson, the founder of Evolve Your Wedding Business, and I'm a full-on marketing geek and a freedom fighter. I'm leading the rebellion against being a slave to your wedding business and having to deal with overcomplicated marketing gobbledygook. My mission in my business is to help wedding professionals just like you live freer lives courtesy of their business instead of being a slave to your business, because it doesn't have to be that way. I help my clients evolve their wedding businesses into businesses that give them freedom that they want and the clients that they love working with. So a little bit about my background and how I got to where I am now. I got my start in events with nonprofits like the American Red Cross. If you haven't noticed from the accent, 5 years of living in the UK has not changed. Very American. And that's where I learned all about organizing events, marketing them, and maximizing their fundraising potential. I continued organizing various events in different marketing roles that I had, and I wound up working as a wedding planner's assistant. And I completely fell in love with the wedding industry. And although I learned that planning weddings really wasn't for me. I still wanted to be involved in that industry, and I've got to give any wedding planners on the call today major credit because there is so much stress involved in being responsible for pulling everything together. So kudos to you. So while I was working as the digital marketing manager at Sendable, which is a London social media startup, and then at University of Cambridge, I launched a niche wedding fair, the Alternative Wedding Fair. And it catered to quirkier, less traditional couples, and it was a resounding success, except I found that I was spending a huge amount of my time helping exhibitors with their marketing so that they could get more out of the event. And that's when it hit me. You're going to laugh. Oh my God, not everyone studies marketing in their spare time. This was actually a huge slap in the face to me. I just kind of assumed that this is something people do. Apparently, it's not. So that's when I decided to do something about it and to take my years of marketing experience to help wedding professionals, and that is when I launched Evolve Your Wedding Business, because marketing does not have to be difficult or painful, and I believe that marketing is the key to freedom in business. So a little bit about what I've done. My marketing expertise has been featured in lots of different places, as you can see, including Book More Brides, Wedding MBA, Attire Bridal Magazine, and I am an advisory board member for the UK Academy of Wedding and Event Planning. But that's enough about me. Let's talk about you. I'm going to walk you through how to make the most of a wedding fair, from the very beginning, before you even book the wedding fair, to long after the fair has ended. Let me just grab a quick drink of water, check in, make sure everyone's doing okay. All right. And I just typed this in the chat, but if at any point there's a hiccup in the video feed or you lose sound, just refresh the page, and that should fix it. Oh, technology. All right, so in order to make the most of your next wedding fair, there are some things that you need to take care of before you even sign on the dotted line to do the fair. And this is going to help you choose the fair that's best for your business, because no amount of marketing and strategy can make up for choosing the wrong fair. So first, you want to consider who the show is targeting, and does that align with your ideal client? Of course, you want to make sure that they're the type of people that are going to be at this fair. And if you don't know who your ideal client is, don't worry. I've got a worksheet I'm going to give you to help you figure that out at the end of the webinar. But essentially, I want you to think about that perfect client you wish you could work with every day. That's your ideal client. So you also want to find out how and where the fair will be promoted. A lot of people don't do their due diligence on this one. So you want to find out, does the fair have a social media presence? Are they running any ads? And more importantly, are those ads in places where your ideal client will see them? Are they on blogs that you know that they read? You want to make sure that the fair you choose is being promoted. Not all of them promote themselves all that well. Of course, present company excluded. So yeah, you want to make sure that they are promoting it so that you get that healthy amount of foot traffic on the day of the fair. You'll also want to find out what exactly is included in your exhibit space, what else you will need, and how that factors into your budget. Because your exhibit space can be anything from an empty space to a full-on shell scheme. So be sure to ask so that you can plan your costs accordingly. If the amount that you end up paying just for the empty space is your whole budget, you're not going to be able to do a whole lot with it. Make sure you ask if electricity, Wi-Fi, tablecloths, any basic furniture like a trestle table and chairs are included, or how much extra they're going to charge you. Some fairs include all of this in the cost and some do not. So that is going to change the overall cost. And be sure to figure in any marketing materials, any giveaways that you're doing into your budget as well, any printing costs. Okay, this is a big one. If the wedding fair organizers tell you that they're going to give you a list of emails, make sure that they're getting permission from the couples for the exhibitors to contact them. Now, Helen can attest to this, and anyone who's exhibited at their fairs, I know that you guys don't do this, and I love that. Because the thing is when you give your contact information to a wedding fair, what you're doing is you're giving the fair organizers permission to contact you. You don't give anybody else, and you're not giving them permission to pass on the details. And a list of attendees might sound nice, it might sound attractive, and a lot of fairs try to use it as a selling point. But you can't market to those people via email because of canned spam laws. Now you can only legally email couples that have agreed to be contacted in a marketing sense. Now, if you market to couples who have not opted in to receive your emails, they could report you as a spammer and your email address and domain could be blacklisted, which is a huge headache. None of your email is going to get delivered. Not something you want to deal with. Plus, it's not a great way to market to people if they aren't saying, yes, I want to hear from you. So ask the show organizer whose permission they're getting and what permission specifically. And if you end up with a list of attendees who have not specifically agreed to be contacted, you can't just add them to your email list, your email marketing list. I would suggest, if you want to make use of this list, individually emailing them and asking them to join your email list if you have one in exchange for a free ebook, a free PDF, any other free resource. You'll see this on my site, and I can give you a couple other examples. But essentially, you see a lot of forms where you enter your email address, you get something in exchange. That's what I'm talking about here. Alternatively, you can create your own list in the same way from interested couples who visit your stand. And I think this is a much better way to do things, because it's better to have a smaller list of people who are genuinely interested in working with you than a big list of people who really don't care what you have to say. And of course, you'll want to review the contract, see if anything is prohibited. Some fairs require you to provide a proof of insurance. You want to make sure you have that in place, otherwise it's going to cost you extra to get that in place. As with all contracts, be sure to review it before you sign it. And Helen, yes, that is fantastic. Please tell me how you guys promote your affairs. I would love to know exactly how you do that. And while I wait for that, I'm going to talk to you about preparing for the fair. So, signed up, you're doing it. You want to invite your prospective and current clients to the fair, and most people don't do this. You're going to appear to be on top of what's going on in your local wedding industry if you personally invite people to come along to these. Even if you've already booked a client, they will appreciate knowing that you're thinking about them and you're connecting them with a place where they can find other suppliers. You also want to promote the fair on social media and use social media to connect with other exhibitors. So you're on Twitter and Facebook, right? Right. Make sure you use the space to discuss what you're doing in the run-up. So you see this a lot. Actually, I see this a lot on Instagram lately. A lot of behind-the-scenes type stuff, a lot of getting ready type stuff. That's really valuable. And you can also use it to connect with other exhibitors, which is an often overlooked benefit to exhibiting at wedding fairs. The networking opportunities a fair offers are often as valuable as the fair itself. So ask the organizer if they have social media accounts and what they are. And that's a good place to see who else is exhibiting, who else is interacting, and who else you can connect with. And of course, you want to network with your fellow exhibitors. And I know it's crazy on the day. I've run wedding fairs. I absolutely know. But does the fair offer a networking event for suppliers prior to the fair? Maybe it's the evening before, maybe it's coffee in the morning. If it does, be sure to participate, as it really never hurts to have friends at the show, and you never know who might be able to refer you. If there is no pre-fair networking event, make a point to set up early and set aside some time to have a chat with other suppliers. Have a quick conversation, follow up with each other later if need be. And even making friends with your competitors can be a good thing, because then you have someone to refer couples to when you're booked solid. Also have a lookout for any promotional opportunities. Many fairs will allow exhibitors to sponsor certain aspects to gain exposure. Think of everything you could possibly sponsor, and then ask if you could do it. So, does the fair offer a sponsorship spot for the bags? Or what about the fashion show? Let's say you're a lighting technician. You could offer to provide the lighting for the fashion show, and in return have your business credited and have a banner up at the show. That's an excellent way to give people a taste of what you can do. And you definitely want to set your goals ahead of time and decide on your game plan to achieve them. You need to know what you want to get out of this fair. If you provide a service that needs a more in-depth discussion, then your goal shouldn't be sales. Your goal should be scheduling consultations after the fair, a certain number of those. Do you want to collect a certain number of leads to follow up on? Setting these types of goals will help you stay on track during the fair, and it'll keep you focused. It'll give you a target, and I'll give you a resource to help you set really strong SMART goals at the end of the webinar. Just jump back into the chat. Helen has just enlightened us on how they promote the fairs, and yes, you guys do really have an excellent social media presence. That's how we connected, and that's really important. I would kind of be a little leery of a wedding fair that didn't have a strong social media presence. Also advertise in the more traditional ways, local radio, local newspapers, regional wedding magazines. They have a database of brides who receive their newsletter, and of course that database is people who sign up to receive these, which is very, very important. And the blog. And I love the fact that you guys each have individual Twitter accounts. There are a lot of businesses that have teams and they only have one Twitter account. And that's all good and well, but the fact that you guys have the different ones, I mean, you can really divide and conquer in that way. And it allows you to, each show your personality and actually get to know people in a much more human way. All right, so we've talked preparing for the fair. Let's talk about how to use your space. I think the biggest mistake people make here is hiding behind their table. You never want to put your table out in front and sit behind it and watch people go by. You need to be up on your feet and giving people a reason to stop at your stand. And I know I probably don't have to tell you guys this, but I've seen it, so I'm going to say it. Don't play with your phone. Don't eat at your stand. Don't look miserable and bored, because people make judgments based on your behavior instantly. And if they see someone playing with their phone and eating instead of working, they're going to assume that you're not very professional and you may handle their wedding in a similar manner. So if you plan to take a break, you may want to consider bringing an assistant who's educated on the type of people and the goals that you set for yourself, so that you can get away from your stand for a little bit. I also want you to think about how you can use your vertical space. So at wedding fairs, we have, our length by width, but we also have everything above us. So have you ever thought about how to use that space above you? You could try to hang a sign above your stand or create a large, tall piece that is going to draw attention to your stand. That is an area that often gets forgotten about at wedding fairs. And if you really want to see how people can make really good use of vertical space, I would suggest having a look on, you can even just look on Pinterest at trade shows. When you get major brands like a car show, they are putting a lot of thought into how they're setting up their space. And I have seen some really interesting use of vertical space in that. And of course, you don't have to do the exact same thing, but you can definitely learn a thing or two from it. So you want to make your space eye-catching and welcome, because half the battle on the wedding fair floor is capturing the attention of the attendees, right? If you can come up with an eye-catching display, people will be compelled to stop and speak to you. If you're a florist, you could invest the time creating an elaborate piece for your stand, a statement piece. If you are a dress designer, put your most unexpected attention-grabbing design out there for people to see. And a little extra tip here, if you're going to do something like that, make sure you use that image of the piece of whatever you're using in your marketing materials so that people remember, because they collect so much stuff during the day of a wedding fair. So when they see that later, they're going to remember, oh, you were the person with that amazing bright red wedding dress. And you want to put the freebies in the back. So you're up front. You want to make those brides and grooms work to get your freebies and keep them in the back, because you should be giving them to potential clients, not just window shoppers. So ask them to give you more details in exchange for a great freebie, like a free report that you'll email to them, or a more expensive promotional gift that they can actually use. Your list of brides and grooms, like I said, that you collect yourself, will always be better than the one that the show provides you with, because your list is full of warm leads. You've already broken the ice with these people, as opposed to cold leads, who are people who have no idea who you are. Just check on the chat real quick. Let's see here. Yeah, Pinterest is great for the wedding industry, and it's consistently in the top 6 things that are pinned. It's like home decor, cooking, like recipes, that sort of thing. Weddings is always in there. Okay, I want everybody to help me out with this. Matthew Ashton has just asked, What might you suggest for a singer slash DJ for an eye-catching point of view? So what can someone like a singer slash DJ do at their stand that would draw in people's attention? Now, of course, you be performing, but that means you can't be talking to people. Tell me a little bit more about your business, Matthew. And tell me a little bit about what you feel like sets you apart, because we might be able to use that. And Helen, I'm curious if you've seen any singers or DJs do anything really creative. Let me know. So I know there is a little bit of a delay on Google Hangouts, so you guys are hearing me about 15 seconds in the future, which is incredibly weird to be talking in the future, but I want to make sure I'm not leaving you guys hanging. So let's move on, and we'll come back to that. Now, at the fair, day of, be strategic about who you give your marketing material to. This stuff costs money. And take the time to qualify them first. Now, there's, of course, a variety of marketing material available for a reason, and that's so you can give a business card to a window shopper and maybe a more detailed DVD of your portfolio to a more serious potential client. You can do what's called qualifying each couple with a few questions to see if you're a good fit for them and they're a good fit for you. You want to take into consideration their level of interest, time left until their wedding date, and location when deciding which piece of marketing material to give them. But by all means, don't be that guy who's just shoving everything into everyone's hands. You want to make your business memorable. And if you can engage a couple in a short activity at your stand, they're going to remember you. Now, at one of my fairs, there was a wedding photographer, it was a couple, and they made these quirky cutouts, like the kind, you put your face in, but they made them out of like a canvas, so you could just hold it up. So they had people, taking pictures with these, and since, of course, they were photographers, they were taking the photos and then taking down their details so that they could then email the photos to them. That is brilliant, because you're building your list of people who are interested in working with you, and you're also giving them a taste of, what it's like to work with you. They're very fun people, and they wanted to show that. And compared to all the other photographers at the event, they definitely stood out. Now, I've harped on this, and I'm going to keep harping on it. Create your own warm leads list. This is absolutely critical. This is the difference between going to a wedding fair and not getting anything out of it, and going to a wedding fair and booking a bunch of weddings. So you can easily create your own list of warm leads by offering them a free item in exchange. And it can be a free PDF or free ebook that covers something that you know would appeal to them. So let's say you're a wedding photographer. You could put together a short PDF called 7 Mistakes Couples Make When Choosing Their Wedding Photographer and How to Avoid Them. People would sign up for that. You want to tell the attendees that you speak to about your freebie and offer to email it to them. And this is really great because not only do you get their details, but you don't get shuffled in with all the other stuff that they're getting that day. Ask them to write down their first and last name along with an email address, but make sure you can read their handwriting. Ask them to clarify anything you can't make out, confirm it before they leave. Or You can avoid this problem altogether by using an iPad app like iCapture or OnSpot Social, or if you use MailChimp for email marketing, they have an iPad app. But if you're going to use any tech, make sure you plan and test this ahead of time just to make sure that it's working properly. And then after the fair, you're going to have this list of people who are specifically interested in you. And that's far better than anything else that the organizers could give you. Sorry, I'm just reading the comments at the moment. Matthew, I'm going to continue thinking about this. And it might not be until after we get off the webinar that something strikes me, but you said that you're different in terms of energy levels, so you could set yourself apart even just by using something as simple as bright colors in your stand, and more of a modern or fresh feel. You know, you want to think about that. That's like a branding aspect, really. You want to think about how you can have that reflected. Exactly, Helen. Yeah, something, you know, those bright, bold, like jewel tones. I think that would work really well. And yeah, definitely what you wear can have something to do with it. Because people who want something high energy, I'm willing to bet, are not the type of people who choose pastel colors for their wedding palette. So they're probably going to be attracted to those really vibrant colors anyway. I'll keep thinking about that one, though. But let's talk after the fair. First of all, follow up. Most businesses that exhibit at wedding fairs never follow up with the leads they collect at wedding fairs. Don't be one of those businesses. I have seen stats on this, and it's staggering. It's like over 80% of people. Okay, so usually the study is the person who's then giving out their email address or giving out their details, saying, yes, please contact me. I would love to talk to you after this. And it's something like 80% are not contacting them. You have somebody who just raised their hand and said, yes, I am interested in learning more about you so that I can hire you. And you're not doing anything about it. That's crazy. I don't care how busy you are. Hot leads come first. So I suggest following up in a way that is helpful instead of salesy. This is kind of my business ethos. By using an email marketing service, MailChimp and Aweber are two of the best, two you may have heard of. Aweber is what I use, but MailChimp's great. MailChimp offers a free plan up until a certain amount of subscribers, so it's a great way to get started. But using one of those tools, you can import the contacts that you've been given permission to get in touch with. Or if you use MailChimp, you can use a tablet and collect the leads directly. And then you can set up a series of emails with informative, fun, and useful content for them. You can actually set these up, you can write them out once, and have them go out automatically. Those are called autoresponders. And those are the emails that you got today, actually. The 1 hour before and right at 8 o'clock. Those were autoresponders. I wrote those like 4 days ago. Okay, so you want to establish yourself as the expert in your field by showing, because showing is better than telling, the potential client how much you know and how much you can help them. So if you have a blog, you can set up your email marketing service to send out your latest blog post to your list. I do this. And it's a great way to build trust and rapport with potential clients. And this is something that I really dig deep into in my Book More Weddings Academy. And think about what you can do differently in your follow-up. So let's assume that 100% of people actually follow up, although we know that isn't true. But let's assume that they're going to follow up with an email. Okay. How can you stand out? You could change up the medium, so maybe you don't use email. Or maybe you use email, but you send them a personalized video or personalized audio, or maybe you send them something in the mail. You also want to remind them who you are, because a couple is not going to remember everyone that they talk to at a wedding fair. So when you write your follow-up, always say where you met and mention something about your stand, mention something about a conversation you had with them. If you're collecting them as a lead, make a little note about what you talked about. And do not go in for the kill right away. Sales is just like dating. Would you go up to a random person at a bar and ask them to marry you? I should hope not. But that's what you're doing when you just go up to somebody who doesn't know anything about you or your business. They don't know you yet. They don't trust you yet. And you're asking for a big commitment. So you want to build a follow-up system that demonstrates your expertise and educates your potential customers. And this is as simple as writing blog posts or writing emails, or both, that address the most frequently asked questions you get asked. I bet that there's a handful of questions you get all the time, and if you can take the time to educate them, they're going to remember that. They're going to remember that everybody else just wanted their money, and you actually wanted to help them. You need a system to do this, because it's so easy to get busy and let it fall through the cracks. And if you're not following up 5 times or more, you could be missing out on 80% of potential sales, according to statistics. So I'm actually going to give you an example email follow-up sequence. You can copy and paste it. You can take it and tweak it. Use it however you like. But I wanted to give you something that you can start with and build from there. And you can also get flagrant with contacting your hot leads. So for this, you would want to narrow down your very best prospects, like the 3 people you met at the fair who you're pretty sure would book you and you loved them, and then throw your marketing budget for the month at them in a clever way. So for instance, let's say you're a baker. You could send 3 people a box of cupcakes. I guarantee that they're going to remember you. And if it fits your business, you could even have an invitational event for your prospects. Let me just check on questions and comments. Carrie, that I would say the when's your wedding gets used, like you said. It's what they hear all day. I would think about, and I'm going to give you a worksheet for this because this is going to vary depending on everyone's business. I would think about the perfect person that you want to work with. And what do they have in common? And what are they concerned about? And once you're thinking along the lines of who they are, it'll help you figure out how to strike up a conversation. And you don't always have to lead with, a question like that. Sometimes that can feel, and, I'm a firm believer that you have to do sales in a way that feels right to you. That can make a lot of people feel like a used car salesman. So don't do it if that isn't, what you like. You can just strike up a conversation in a much more casual way if that suits you better. Wayne, I'm just going to open email. Get some water. Okay, so Wayne has posted, this is a MailChimp email, and it's thank you for saying hello at the fair, and just a reminder, here's the promotion that we were running. Wayne, I'm curious what you do after this. After that first one, what comes after that? Because I think that's where people can get really hung up. And like I said, this is something I really in-depth into in Book More Weddings Academy, but using helpful content, using frequently asked questions can break up your sales messages. So this is a sales message. So the next one, you would want, let's say, maybe some educational content and then a single call to action at the end. Like, oh, hey, don't forget, click here to check out whatever you want them to come find out more about. Or, Carrie, you could use like some, if you've ever looked at icebreaker questions, that might be kind of weird, but we used to use them at a place I used to work. When someone new would get hired, everybody would have to ask a question, and the typical stuff gets real boring real fast. And it's more interesting to ask somebody if they'd rather be a pirate or a ninja versus, what's your favorite sports team? So you might want to look into icebreakers for that. All right, let's talk about tracking your return on investment. So if you're not already, you want to make sure you ask people how they heard about you. This applies to people that you book after the fair and every person who comes to you for the rest of your business's life. That way, you can find out which fairs and which marketing strategies are actually working for you. And let's say the fair didn't do so well. Try something new next time. I often hear from wedding professionals that wedding fairs don't work. And I gotta call bullshit on that. Wedding fairs are an opportunity, and they're what you make of it. So you have to make the most of it. Another way to track your return on investment is send people to a specific landing page on your site so you can see how many people from the fair visited. For example, I am going to give you a resources page at the end of this webinar, and it'll have everything I've talked about so far, the sample emails, the ideal client worksheet, but it's on a separate page of my site. It's just Evolve Your Wedding Business /LWB, but I know that people aren't going to be getting to that from anywhere else on my site. So using just a specific page that's the only place you're giving out the URL can be really helpful. And please get your Google Analytics set up before the fair. Get it set up today if you don't already have it set up. The thing with Google Analytics, it's incredibly powerful, but it only starts tracking from the day you put that tracking code on your site. So it's only as good as the information you have, and you can't start gathering that information until you actually install it. If you need any resources on that, let me know. Of course, you want to measure your results against your goal, because you can't say that it was a success or it was a failure if you don't set a goal. If you don't say, okay, I want to book 5 consultations and collect 10 leads. Unless you have something very specific and usually numerical, you can't measure it. So this is a way that you're going to be able to see, okay, is it what I'm going to call a success, or did I not hit my goals? And be sure that you hold onto that list of leads so you can track how many of them turn into bookings. And keep in mind that that can take some time. The amount of time people spend researching their weddings before they're actual investing with different people, and it depends where you are in that cycle. If you're a venue photographer, it's going to be more towards the beginning, but it could be 9 months from now, it could be a year from now, and someone gets in touch with you. And that's another reason why you want to be sending these follow-ups, is because maybe it's no right now to book you, but it's yeah in a year. They're just not ready. Okay, sorry, just checking in the comment. All right, and you also want to set aside some time to debrief. About a month, 6 weeks after the fair, to assess how things went. Did you meet your goals? What could you do better next time? And was this fair a success for you? And in what ways did you meet your goals? Did you meet a bunch of suppliers and create a mastermind group to help each other and refer business? And definitely keep track of how many bookings you're getting from each fair that you exhibit at. That way you know which ones you should exhibit at again. 2 seconds, I need to drink. Too much talking. Okay, and I told you I'm going to tell you why, because I believe everyone should know why they're doing what they're doing. So why does follow-up matter? This actually goes much deeper than just marketing at wedding fairs. The way that we make purchasing decisions has changed a lot. Think about the way you bought things 15, 20 years ago versus the way you buy things now. The problem is that a lot of people don't know how to adapt to this new way of marketing, and they end up doing what I like to call spray and pray. And that's just where you're haphazardly throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks, and just spraying and hoping, just hoping. And hope is not a strategy, by the way. That somebody will get in touch with you if you just, spray enough. Sales is a lot like dating, and if you wouldn't walk up to someone at a bar and ask them to marry you, then you shouldn't do that to your potential clients. I've built a system that focuses on getting potential clients to fall in love with you, so that when you do pop the question, the answer will be, I do. Now you have a decision to make. Are you going to continue doing the things you've always done and get the results you've always got, or would you prefer to use a well-engineered, proven, step-by-step system for your marketing? I want you to imagine the confidence that comes with being in control of your marketing and sales. No more like I said, frantically throwing things at the wall and seeing what sticks. Instead, you'll be spending time on what works and nothing else. And I want you to know, this is the crux of why I started my business. I want you to know that there's a better way to get yourself out there than this frantic, stressed out, scattered thing that you're probably doing. And you can book more weddings, make more money, and be a much happier human being because you won't have to worry about how you're going to make ends meet next month. And I know because I've seen my clients do it, and I've seen my clients go from ready to quit, as in shut down their business, to running a thriving business. And you can do it too. So, I am going to be launching Book More Weddings Academy. It is currently not on sale, but it will be very, very soon. September 17th to be exact. And if you want to find out more about it and get some free training from me as well, you can head over to bookmoreweddingsacademy.com. Like I said, I wanted to create some bonuses for you. So I've created a resources page just for you. And that has my ideal client profile worksheet. It's going to help you learn more about the people that you really want to work with, because unless you truly understand who you're marketing to, what they like, what they dislike, you're not going to have that great of results. I've included a guide to setting SMART goals, a guide to creating a follow-up strategy, and sample follow-up emails that you can copy and paste, take them, and use them after your next wedding fair. And I've included some tools to make email marketing easier for you. And you can find all of that at, see what I did here, this dedicated landing page just for you guys. It's evolveyourweddingbusiness.com/LWB. I'll email that to you as well, along with the replay of this. So, do you have any questions for me at the moment? Or Helen? Do you have any questions about anything we covered, anything we didn't cover? I am an open book, so hit me with your questions. Just make sure I haven't missed anything from anyone. Tried to keep an eye on this, but it's kind of hard. And I know there's a delay on Google Hangouts, which is a fantastic tool, but I'm going to give you some time to submit your questions. And I'm going to put this link in the chat box. Wayne, that's really hard to answer. There's no set percent. That type of thing is really on a case-by-case basis. It depends on the cost of the show, it depends on the cost of your service and how many of them you need in order to cover the cost of the show and get a return on it. So I'm sorry I'm not able to give you a specific percentage, but I think you can understand what I mean. Okay, Carrie, how many follow-up emails is a good number? Well, like I said, they don't all have to be sales emails. They can be a mix of helpful and sales. And some statistics do show that the majority of sales are made after the fourth or fifth follow-up. And since, of course, you have to follow up that many times, I know it makes it feel a lot better if you're following up in a helpful way. It's here's some helpful information, or here's, a common question and an answer, and hey, also make sure you book. Okay, Andrew asks, is it better to follow up affair with a phone call or send a personal letter? I would avoid phone calls, especially if your ideal client falls into the millennial generation. So anyone born between 1979, all stats on marketing to that generation show that phone, it just doesn't work. I would recommend email for that. And actually, as a member of that like we have a club, as part of that generation myself, I do not answer my phone unless it's, someone, unless it's my husband or my mom, pretty much. And even then, I might not answer it. Carrie, congratulations. Well, Jackie, you definitely want to take what we've gone over today, and you're going to get a replay, and you want to make sure that you set the right goal for yourself. So I think for that show and for being a photographer, it doesn't really make sense to try to make the sale on the day, right? That's going up to someone at a bar and asking them to marry you. I would instead shift your focus to creating something that you can give in exchange for their email address, and then focusing on follow-up. I really see wedding fairs as a lead generation event. I don't see them as a place where you close sales. Andrew, Facebook, do you mean following up with people by sending them a Facebook message, or do you just mean like Facebook marketing in general? And Jackie, if you have anyone, I don't know if you're solo business, if you have anyone you can take with you, that's a huge show. And I think it would help you to have more than one person. But have a think about, go through this ideal client exercise. Have a think about what they're concerned about and what they like and dislike, and what can you offer them in exchange for their email address. And like I said, MailChimp has a free plan, and you can collect their emails directly on an iPad in that way. Andrew, I would not send somebody a Facebook message to follow up with them. The reason for that is if you are not friends with someone on Facebook, it goes into that other inbox, which nobody really looks at. And last time I looked at mine, it was just full of weirdos. So I wouldn't suggest that. Wayne, that's a great idea. iZettle or Square are, card readers that you can take a deposit on the day. And if you have the sort of business where that makes sense, yeah, go for it. And I think it's good to be prepared to have that on hand. But, Wayne, you obviously that's a goal of yours. So definitely think about it. And great recommendation with 3 people to work the national show. Okay, it is 9 o'clock. I'm good for time. I'm happy to stay here and answer any questions, but I want to be respectful of your time. So if you have to go, that's totally fine. Andrew, when you say personal letter, are you sending that via post or are you sending that via email? Carrie, I would apply the principle that is often applied on forms online. So the rule with any form online is that the fewer fields there are, the more likely it is that someone will actually fill it out. So if you're asking their life story, like you said, it gets tedious giving all this information. I think email is the most valuable. Maybe name, email, wedding date if they have one set, and any notes you want to make to yourself, anything that you specifically talked about. Andrew, you could try emailing them instead. I mean, I personally open my mail over the garbage can, so I don't know if anybody else does that. Maybe I just get a lot of junk mail. I don't know. And, speaking of postal mail, direct mail isn't dead. It's just changed. And there are a lot fewer people using it. So you can do what's called a lumpy mailer. And that just means that you're sending something in like more of a parcel, like a manila envelope, and it's like lumpy. And it's like the kind of thing when you order something from Amazon and it comes to you. Because people are going to open that. And the most recent thing I got in that way was a Boost energy bar. And the letter was from a marketing company that I gave my details to at some trade show. And it was about how they could boost my business. And I thought, that's brilliant. Andrew, are you basing that on any statistical data that you have, or are you basing that on response? And I wonder how your response is from post versus email. Wayne, there's one that goes directly in. Have a look at. See if I can find that right now. MailChimp has a lot of really cool features. No, it isn't Mandrill. It's called Chimpity-Doo. Well, Andrew, if that's working for you, I'd say continue doing it. And if email doesn't seem to work for you, you could use the strategy of offering something in exchange. So it's not just a direct sales follow-up. It's actually content marketing. You're selling to them by educating them. Bye, Baron. Have a good night. Baron, sorry if I said that wrong. Any other questions? That's what I'm here for. Yeah, Wayne, that importing, I've done that before. That can be a pain. I think networking evenings are one of the most underutilized opportunities that you really have at a wedding fair. It's a perfect chance to make some, not just like make nice with people, like at those, those weird morning networking things, but actually getting to know people and knowing that you can refer business back and forth. You can support one another. You can make some business BFFs, as I call them. And just, oh yeah, Tom says the sound is so good. Carrie, how to treat trade show style fairs where you're within a shell. Usually with a shell you get some depth, and I think that's the perfect opportunity to invite people in and treat it as if like it's your store, so that the goal first is to get people in and then have a conversation with them. So I would say try to make it welcoming. You can utilize furniture to do that, to make it feel like a living room. Matthew, I'll continue to have a think, and I'll definitely let you know if I come across anything on Pinterest or anything like that. And Carrie, let's see, I'm guessing based on your name that you are a makeup artist. And something to think about is how you feel like, the little boutique makeup stands that you see in like Dunham's and John Lewis. For those of you who do use PayPal, there is something that I was very excited to find out. The beta program of their business debit card is available only in the UK. And if you just look up PayPal business card, you can find out about that. But it's really cool because it doesn't require you then to move money from your PayPal to your bank account, wait for that, and then take the money out there. Oftentimes, Carrie, I find some of my best inspiration for everything in business outside of the industry. And it's because, like, we have our heads down and we're so in the industry. I think it would be helpful for you to look at, maybe the way some fashion shows are structured. Just see how other people are doing this in different industries. And looking at the way different trade shows are laid out can be really helpful for that. Well, I hope this has been helpful for you guys, and I hope you have some information that you can take away. Of course, you have the resources page where you can get all that good information and put it to work. And thank you, Helen. Oh, wait, I don't think Helen can hear me, but still thank you. If any questions come to mind, just let me know. That is what I'm here for. That's definitely a good sign, Carrie. I'm glad you've learned something too. Yes, I do, Wayne, and that is included. I believe I've laid out 3 different emails on the resource page that you can take and use. Okay, I'm going to hang out for probably about 5 more minutes if anyone has any further questions. And you'll get an email with the replay of this, so you can revisit it if you'd like at any point. And you'll also get an email with that resource page link. And thank you guys so much for taking the time to join Helen and I today. Okay, guys, I am going to wrap up our webinar and just end the broadcast. But like I said, you will get an email follow-up from me with all of that information, and I will keep my eye on the chat. Thank you so much for joining me today. This has been a lot of fun, and I hope you learned something. So I wish you all the best in your next wedding fair, and I hope you let me know how it goes. Take care.